Coming up on Vegas Nation Blitz, the Raiders' playoff hopes are all but gone after a blown lead led to the Steelers' win on Saturday. Players expressed their frustrations.
We still had opportunities to make plays. You know, I feel like in times where we was close and we felt like we was about to get a big one, we went away from it.
In the aftermath of the Raiders' loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road, Derek Carr will no longer start at quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. Derek Carr threw 3 interceptions and had 1 touchdown in the Raiders' loss against the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road on Christmas Eve. We'll dive into that loss and discuss what's to come with the 49ers coming to Allegiant Stadium on New Year's Day. Up next.
Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal, this is Vegas Nation Blitz. Presented by D&R House of Diamonds, making luxury affordable. Located in the One Summerlin building in downtown Summerlin.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Vegas Nation Blitz. I'm your host Heidi Fang, filling in for Cassie Soto this week. First up, we're going to take a look back at the Raiders' loss to the Steelers in Pittsburgh. 13-10 the final score after Derek Carr threw 3 picks, which might possibly have led to his benching. We're going to have all of that story up next and more. So let's get into it now with our top stories brought to you by Capriotti's. Make your game day extraordinary with Capriotti's. Order now. Joining me now to discuss what went down with the Raiders' loss in Pittsburgh is our Raiders beat writer, Vinny Bonsignor. This is kind of a crazy day here at Raiders headquarters. Josh McDaniels announcing that Derek Carr will not finish out the 2022 season for the Raiders. What do you make of this move?
Yeah, I saw this coming. We wrote a month ago that Derek Carr faced a very important last month of the season for his future. And I think that this decision today kind of indicates where all that went, right? We're not having this conversation if Derek Carr was playing good football, if the Raiders were in the playoff hunt, if the Raiders had decided, that he was going to be the quarterback of the future. I don't think that that's the case. And as a result of that, they've now made the decision, look, we can't afford to put Derek Carr out there and potentially risk injury, because if he gets hurt over these next 2 games, they're on the hook for $40 million of $33 million on his 2023 salary, $7.5 million on his 2024 salary. That makes them really hard to trade. They'd be on the hook for that, and the injury makes them really hard to trade. So there's a lot of reasons why the Raiders are playing it safe right now and saying we're probably moving on from Derek Carr. I almost think that that's certain at this point, and we need to protect that asset and not put him in any danger so that all of the options will be available to us come the offseason when they presumably trade him.
All right, Coach McDaniels said this is not indicative of what the future may hold for Derek Carr as to whether or not he wears silver and black for the foreseeable future. But what do you make of Jarrett Stidham taking over the reins? How does this open up things for his opportunity and chance of maybe being that guy?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of excitement level, I'm sure, among Raider fans, to see what you guys have in Jarrett Stidham. But this is not really about Jarrett Stidham. Whoever the backup quarterback, if I was the backup quarterback, I would be playing on Sunday and not Derek Carr. That's really the honest truth about this. This is about protecting the Raiders' asset and them saying we can't afford to put Derek Carr out there and risk him getting hurt and being on the hook for $40 million and not being able to trade him, because I think that's where this is all headed. So it was a practical move. It was a business decision. And of course, we have to go back to this. None of this is happening if Derek Carr hadn't played well this year. And look, Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, I know this season has gone horribly wrong for this franchise, and they're taking their share of criticism for this. But they said from the very beginning, back in January when they were hired, part of this first year was going to be about evaluating who's here, what's here, who could stay here, who do we believe in moving forward, all of those things. They were very honest about that and upfront, to the point where they drew up a contract for Derek Carr extension that included an out after the first year. Why do you do that? Because you're not sure in January or in March when they signed him whether or not he's going to be the quarterback of the future. And they needed that out at the end of the season to say, hey, look, we all gave it a shot. It didn't work. Now it's time to move on without a big financial burden, them incurring a big financial burden. And that's exactly what they did, and that's exactly what they've avoided. And to make sure that they avoid no more of it, that's why they're benching Derek Carr.
Also, if we go back just to this past game against the Steelers where he threw 3 picks, there were a lot of balls that could have gone Devontae's way, didn't make it there quite as much as everybody would have liked to have seen, a couple that might have gone for a touchdown. Vinny, what do you make of, one, that performance and how indicative it was in actually leading to this benching?
Yeah, Well, in that respect, them really being out of the playoff hunt at that point was
There's still a chance.
There's still a slim chance, but I think that was it. I'll put it this way: I think the decision to move on from Derek Carr has already been made, and had been made before they took the field in Pittsburgh, or at least they were leaning heavily in that direction. So I think that just maybe reaffirmed it, whatever the word is for that. So I think that, yeah, in a small sample size, that was not a good look for Derek Carr, and they realistically played themselves out of the playoff hunt as a result. And it was the fourth straight bad game for him. He's been playing bad football over the last month or so. So it kind of expedited the situation. But I don't think that it came down to that performance. I think the Raiders have decided, and it's been made a while ago, that this was going to be it for Derek Carr this year.
And now we'll take a look at the road ahead with Ed Graney, now with Jarrett Stidham as the starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. Around the League, brought to you by South Point Sportsbook. Download the app at southpointsports.com. Let's get into the latest now around the league with Adam Hill, our NFL and Raiders writer. Adam, right now the AFC has a hot race for one playoff berth remaining. There are a ton of teams still involved with that race. What do you think? Who makes it?
So we've got 5 playoff berths already set in the AFC, and a 6th is going to be set by the winner of the AFC South. The Titans and the Jaguars, they're going to play it out. They play in Week 18. The winner of that game most likely is going to be the team that wins in the AFC South, so that's another division winner. That means all these other teams that are still alive are fighting for one wild card spot in the AFC. Now, the Dolphins have the best track. All they have to do is win one of their final 2 games. They're at New England, home against the Jets. Win one and you're in. But, of course, that's complicated by the fact that Tua Tagovailoa now in concussion protocol yet again, the starting quarterback. We saw what happened to him after he suffered that concussion on Sunday. We're not sure how related that is. His 3 interceptions to suffering that concussion, we think, late in the first half. But we don't know if he's going to play again this year for the Dolphins, especially in the regular season. So that makes it a little bit more difficult to handicap if they're going to win one of their final 2 games. If they lose one of those 2 games, or excuse me, if they lose both of those games, then that means the door is open for all these other teams, including the Raiders. I know the chances are less than 1%, as we talked about earlier, but the door would be open if the Raiders won both their games, the Dolphins lost both. More likely, though, you have a mix of teams like the Patriots, who play the Dolphins this week, could put themselves in much better position. You've got the Jets, who play at the Seahawks. They're kind of falling apart, but they've got a chance to stay alive. The Steelers with a very outside chance as well. So one of these teams is going to be able to potentially step in that door if the Dolphins leave it open by losing for their final 2 games here.
In the NFC, things are a little different. 3 playoff berths remaining, Adam. Some teams still very involved in that mix. What do you make of the NFC playoff race, and who could be the big winner here?
Yeah, pretty similar situation in the NFC, right, where we have a lot of the field set, and you're looking at one more division winner who has not been set yet in the NFC South. The Buccaneers and Panthers most likely are the teams that are in the mix for that. The Saints have an outside shot there as well. But one of those teams is going to win the division, most likely with a losing record. So then you look at all these other teams that are fighting their way in. The Packers were left for dead several weeks ago, but now they've won some games. They have a nice winning streak going, and they have 2 home games left. Minnesota and Detroit both coming to Lambeau in December. That's a very difficult situation. So the Packers have a very good chance of winning out here, closing the season on a winning streak, being red hot going into the playoffs, and maybe even earning one of those berths. The Lions, they play the Packers in that Week 18 game. They have a chance as well if they can win out these final 2 weeks. You've got other teams in that mix as well. The Commanders, the Giants, they play to a tie. The Giants are the most likely team out of that group to sneak in there. But, those teams played to a tie a while ago that left some possibilities on the table for a lot of these teams to sneak in. So a pretty wild race here in the NFC as well. But the Packers, I think, are the team that a lot of people might fear. I don't think a lot of teams want them to be the team that sneaks in. The Lions were that trendy pick a couple of weeks ago, but now they've fallen apart a little bit. So I think the Packers are the one that people are scared of maybe getting in and causing some chaos in the playoffs.
Here's the latest with the injury report for the Las Vegas Raiders. Defensive end Chandler Jones and linebacker Denzel Perryman have both been placed on injured reserve. In other injuries, 3 players for the Raiders were limited on Wednesday, including offensive tackle Jackson Barton, running back Zamir White, cornerback Rock Yassin. Nate Hobbs has a quadricep injury, and Alex Barr's a knee injury. Both practice in full. Notable injuries for the 49ers include Nick Bosa, who did not practice, wide receiver Deebo Samuel, listed with an ankle and and knee injury also did not participate. Running backs Jordan Mason and Christian McCaffrey were both limited in practice on Wednesday for the 49ers.
D&R House of Diamonds is Las Vegas's elite private office jeweler, the perfect bridge between internet pricing and a traditional brick-and-mortar jewelry store. We specialize in loose diamonds, natural and lab-grown, engagement rings, fashion jewelry, custom design, and jewelry repairs. We operate by appointment in our beautiful offices in the One Summerlin building, downtown Summerlin. Our great relationships with the world's largest diamond wholesalers and our low overhead saves you hundreds, if not thousands, on your purchase.
With Capriotti's, game day is always extraordinary. Fuel your passion with our award-winning cheesesteaks, in-house oven-roasted turkey, and classic subs. Or create a fan frenzy with our catering trays that are perfect for any crew. At Capriotti's, we deliver extraordinary to you.
Listen to the Vegas Nation podcast 3 times a week, featuring Vinny Bonsignor and Sam Gordon to kick off the week with First and 10. In the middle of the week, catch Heidi Fang's takeaways, and rounding out the week on Fridays is Ed Graney and Adam Hill with unsportsmanlike conduct. Subscribe to the podcast and check them out as well on VegasNation.com and the Vegas Nation app, all powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Vegas Nation, fast takes, smart coverage.
Now let's take our weekly look at some Raiders social media. The holiday break isn't over just yet, so let's enjoy some festive content.
What's your name?
Max.
Oh, I thought Derek Carr was going to be. How many steps?
Dang.
We're still freaking awesome.
Okay, thank you.
The Raiders spreading some holiday cheer to over 500 kids in Las Vegas, turning Allegiant Stadium into a winter wonderland. And now to a heated discussion in the locker room, holiday movies.
The Polar Express. Polar Express, best movie. What? Come on.
Home Alone.
Home Alone. Home Alone teaches kids to be bad.
Polar Express cool.
No,
that's cool. Is Home Alone considered a Christmas movie?
Yeah. Home Alone.
I think that's a good Christmas movie.
Who wore it best? We got a couple Raiders putting on their sweaters for the frosty Pittsburgh conditions.
Oh. Raider ornament says, "Here's to a wonderful season."
Well, maybe next year.
And the football season isn't over just yet. It'll take a Christmas miracle to get to the postseason, but there will never be a better gift for Raider Nation than silver and black merch.
Now I'm joined with our Review-Journal sports columnist Ed Graney, and it's time to take a look at the road ahead with the Raiders facing the 49ers next, Ed. This is a team that already clinched a playoff berth, while the Raiders still have a small chance of actually making the playoffs. I mean, it's not a big chance, but you're saying there's a chance. So, Ed, break this down for me. How do you think this game goes down?
That bubble's about to burst, I'm afraid, for the Raiders, Heidi. There's too much that probably has to happen with them being 6-8 to get to the playoffs. But I'll tell you this. It's all really going to depend on the opponents. Frisco and Kansas City are still playing for seeding, and that means they're going to be serious about what they do. Maybe not Kansas City. We'll see in a week with Kansas City, and if their seed is wrapped up, then you got to see on who Andy Reid would play. But Frisco's playing for something this week, so I don't think they're going to come in and lie down. Maybe they could pull one of these off, but we can't really say the way we've seen them play recently that they have any possibility. Anything's possible. I get that, but Frisco and Kansas City are better teams. And we'll just have to see what happens. But it won't be because San Francisco or Kansas City lies down because they already know they're in the playoffs.
After a week where Derek Carr was benched after throwing 3 picks against the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ed, how important will ball security be in this one?
Well, it's huge. I mean, and they're playing one of the best defenses in the league, right, who feast off these kind of things. So, ball security is going to be really important. More importantly, Heidi, is they just have to move the ball consistently. 30 yards of total offense in Pittsburgh last week. I know the weather was horrible, but you know what? It was horrible for both sides. And when they needed to do it, the Steelers came up with a drive. So, yeah, I mean, as Josh McDaniels said after the game the other day, the team that has the most turnovers in each game is usually the team that loses. So ball security is always a huge thing no matter what week it is, but especially against a team like the 49ers with their defense.
That'll do it for this episode of the Vegas Nation Blitz. For all of the latest news and notes on your Las Vegas Raiders, make sure to head over to VegasNation.com. We'll have you covered there all the way up until game day, taking place New Year's Day at Allegiant Stadium with the 49ers coming into town. Also, we will have our next episode of our Vegas Nation shows, Game Day, coming at you on Friday. Make sure to check that out. I'm Heidi Fang, and for all of our Vegas Nation crew, thank you so much for watching.
Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal, this is Vegas Nation Blitz. Presented by DNR House of Diamonds, making luxury affordable. Located in the One Summerlin building in downtown Summerlin.